Harihi Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Satma Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vriteshu Suravira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Barahavatam Samasita Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvanamalya Vamshi Ratnagaram Pranayakeri Kalavilasam Shyamam Tribanga Lalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani yasya sakalendriya vriti manti Pasyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti Ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam Adyam purana purusham navayauvanam cha Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhaktau Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Pantastu koti satavatsara sampragamyo Vayo ratapi manaso muni pungavanam Sopyasti yat prapadasimnya vichintya tatve Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Ekopi asarachaitum jagadanda kotim Yachaktirasti jagadanda chayaya danda Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yad bhava bhavita diyo manujastataiva Samprapya rupa mahima sanayana bhusha Shuktaryameva nigama pratitastu vanti Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavitabis Tabirya eva nicharupataya kalabi Goloka eva nivasatya kilatma bhuto Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena Santas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti Yam shyama sundaram achintya gunasvarupam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Ramadi murti shukalani yamena tishtan Nanavatara makarod bhuvaneshu kintu Krishna swayam samabhavat paramapumanyo Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yasya prabhava prabhavo jagaranta koti Kotishvashesha vasudhati vibhuti bhinam Tad Brahma Nishkalamanantamashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Maya Hiyasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Traigunya Tad Vishaya Veda Vitayamana Sattva Valambi Parasattvam Vishuddha Sattvam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ananda Chinmaya Rasatmataya Manasu Ya Praninam Pratipalam Smaratam Upetya Lilaitena Bhuvanani Jayati Ajashram Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Golokanamni Nijadam Nitale Chatasya Devi Mahesha Haridama Suteshu Teshu Te Te Prabhava Nichaya Vihitascha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Srishti Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibhati Durga Ichanurupam api yasya chachishtate sa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Kshiram yathada divikara vishesha yoga Sanjayatena hitata pritakasti heto Yasambhutam apitata samupaiti karyat Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Diparchireva hidasantaramabhupetya Dipayate vivrita hetu samana dharma Yastadrikeva hicha vishnutaya vibhati Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yakaranarna vajale bhajati sma yoga Nidram ananta jagadanda saroma kupa Adhara Shaktim Avalambya Param Svamurtim Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yasyaika Nishvasita Kalamatavalambiya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnur Mahansa Ihayasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yasyaika Nishvasita Kalamatavalambiya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadantanata Vishnur Mahansa Ihayasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Vasvanyatasma Sakaleshu Nijeshu Teja Sviyam Kiyat Prakatayatyapi Tattva Tatra Brahmaya Esha Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dvandve Pranama Samaye Saganadi Raja Vignan Vihantum Alamasya Jagatrayasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Agni Mahi Gaganamambu Maruddishascha Kalastatatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Vishanti Yamcha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yachakshuresha Savita Sakalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha Teja Yasya Gyaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Dharmo Tapapa Nichaya Shutayastapamsi Brahmadikita Patagavadayascha Jiva Yadatamatra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yastvendra Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhanurupa Palabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdahati Kintu Cha Bhakti Bhajam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Viti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavai Sanchintya Tasya Sadrishim Tanuma Purete Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Shri Akanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Druma Bhumimschintamani Ganamahi Toyamamritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Shipriya Saki Chitanandam Jyoti Param Apitat Ashvadyam Apicha Sayatra Kshirabdi Shavati Surabhibhyascha Sumahan Nimesharda va Vrajati Nahi Yatrapi Samaya Vajashveta Dvipam Tamahamiha Golokamitiyam Vidantaste Shantakshiti Viralachara Katipaye. Shishi Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So until now we were discussing the in the beginning we discussed very much in detail the first verse of this chapter of Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramak Krishna, Sat Chitananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarvakara Nakaranam. And then there was a very detailed description of Goloka Vrindavana and how there is no difference between Goloka, the spiritual world, and Gokula, Gokula in the spiritual world and Gokula on earth. And also it was mentioned how in the biggest realm of Goloka there are different areas like Gokula, Mathura, Dvaraka, Shvetadvip, Navadvip, Mayapur, different areas where the Lord performed his pastimes with his devotees in a slightly different mood. And then after that we had a description of the primary creation, how the Lord Mahavishnu desires to create the material world and he glances over material nature, and in this way he injects the living entities in the material nature, and gradually the creation begins. And then we discussed the secondary creation, where Brahma appears. Actually, we discussed how there are two sets of Brahma, Shiva, the initial prototypes of the demigods.
The
which
primordial
exist,
demigods.
Yes, the primordial demigods which exist outside of the universe, before the universe to be actually created. And then once the universes are created, all these demigods, they actually expand, and their expansions enter in each and every universe. And in this way we discussed that actually there are acharyas were explaining there we have three forms of Brahma and different forms of Shiva as
At
well.
least two different
At
types
least.
of, but there are more because Rudras are 13.
Yes.
No, 11. 11 Rudras.
So basically we understand how complicated is the creation and how amazing are the energies of the Lord, trying to manage all these complicated things just like that because of the desire of the Lord. And then at the end we discussed how Brahma tried with his own endeavor to understand the reality, but he failed. And then by the mercy of the Lord, Saraswati Devi gave him a mantra, and he was meditating with this mantra, Gayatri mantra, and then he got the revelation of the Lord. He heard the sound of the flute of the Lord that came through his mouth in the form of Gayatri mantra.
Kama Gayatri.
Kama Gayatri. And being further enlightened, Brahma now is expressing these amazing prayers known as Govindamadi Purusham prayers. And now we came to this moment. We will start reading those prayers. Text 29 to 56, Govindam Adi Purusham prayers. Beginning with verse 29, Brahmaji praises the primeval personality, Sri Govinda, with 31 verses describing the glories
of his name, form, qualities.
The glories of his name,
pastimes.
form, qualities, pastimes, opulence, sweetness, transcendental abode, and so on. I was just wondering that here he said 31 verses. Actually, they appears to me that they are 27.
And we'll find out.
But yeah, that's not so important. Text 29 to 31. Complete perfection, the sweetness of Krishna. So in the beginning, the sweetness of Krishna is described. These verses represent a confidential revelation of the Paramadam, Gokula, as distinguished from Goloka. Just as Sri Brahma Samhita began with a description of the topmost seat of intimate pastimes, Yogapith, this section again returns to that superior place. In these verses we find no trace of Krishna as God. Instead, Brahma expresses his profound mood of longing for Swayam Krishna, the coward boy of Raja, by praising his four unique qualities: Lila Madhurya, uniquely sweet pastimes; Prema Madhurya, uniquely sweet devotees; Venu Madhurya, uniquely sweet, all-attractive flute; and Rupa Madhurya, uniquely sweet beauty. Text 29. Krishna abode and associates. Chintamani prakarasat masukalpa vriksha lakshavriteshu surabir abhipalayantam Lakshmi sahasra satasam brahmasevyamanam Govindamadi purusham tam aham bhajami. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, who affectionately tends the cows in stables, whose woes are made of Chintamani, surrounded by desire trees. He is eagerly served by countless gopis, Lakshmi Sahasra Sata. As mentioned in verse 3, there are two means of realizing the unmanifest pastimes of Krishna, each appropriate to the sadhaka in different stages: Mantramaya Upasana and Svarasiki Upasana. According to Jiva Goswami, this yield realization corresponding to two types of pastimes. Mantra Upasana Dhyayana Mailiva. By meditating on certain mantras, one can attain realization of a single pastime in a specific place. Svarasiki Liva, the more spontaneous contemplation of all the pastimes collectively, revealing a variety of livas occurring in various places. The Acharyas explain that this verse is an example of a superior meditation of Svarasiki Lilas that occur in Yogapith. So different pastimes of Krishna are described at the same time in this verse. In Goloka, many different areas, such as the Rasa Arena, can be realized by the using a particular mantra, such as the Brihat Jnana mantra, found in Kramadipika, by which one attains realization of a particular pastime in that particular place. However, Brahma offers his first verse of praise to Govinda by describing many pastimes suitable for the place called Gokula, the chief of all the abodes, since it is situated in the center of Goloka. With great absorption, with the deepest love, Govinda protects the cows by tending them and leading them to the forest or the cow pens. Sometimes in private, however, there are most extraordinary events. The countless gopis serving Govinda with the greatest love. We have a note here.
So there is the general meaning that is open to more bigger number of devotees, and there is a very intimate and confidential
Meaning,
part.
esoteric meaning, yes.
Extraordinary events.
So note 16, Srila Prabhupada uses the present Brahma Samhita verse to demonstrate Krishna's eternal attachment to his loving consorts, in spite of the detachment he occasionally exhibits. In the third canto of Bhagavatam, Krishna quits his Dvaraka palaces and retires to the bank of the Saraswati. The Lord was thus, quote, the Lord was thus engaged in household life for many, many years, but at last his detachment from ephemeral sex life was fully manifested. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.3.22. Srila Prabhupada explains, even though the Lord is never attached to any kind of material sex life, as the universal teacher, he remained a householder for many, many years, just to teach others how one should live in householder life. The Lord's detachment from household life does not indicate detachment from his eternal associates, the transcendental cowherd themselves. But the Lord desired to end his so-called attachment to the three modes of material nature. He can never be detached from the service of his transcendental associates like Rukmini and other goddesses of fortune, as described in the Brahma Samhita, Lakshmi Sahasra Sata Sambrahma Sevimanam.
So the Lord is never detached from his devotees. He may be showing an example how one should live his life according to the principles of Varnashrama, but not at the expense of his attachment to his devotees. There is no way, no time, no example that he's detached from devotees.
Yeah, basically sometimes he may show example for attachment, like when he becomes family person, and then later he wants to show example of detachment, someone who has to live family life for the sake of making further spiritual progress. But in all the cases, he stays connected with his eternal devotees. Yes, this point explained here should not be misunderstood that the Lord is leaving the devotees. This will be wrong.
Yeah, like Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna is never alone, he's always with the devotees.
Yes. And also it's very interesting how the first verse of the
This chapter.
Yes, describe pastimes of Krishna. We have like one of the most intimate pastimes of Krishna, meaning his pastimes with the queens and with the gopis.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we have the pastimes of herding the cows. So they are put basically on the same level from Brahma.
Yeah, they are, because they're compatible. These two rasas are compatible. They are friendly rasas in a sense because they cooperate. And in a Java Dharma, there is a statement I believe by Gopal Guru Goswami, that the cowherd boys, they can reach up to the level of I think sneha. These are levels of prema, but especially those who are connected to Subhao, they can reach Mahabhava, which is quite unique because only Radharani and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the gopis are on this level. So they are compatible with us. And they are mentioned together in this verse.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also comments on the rest of the verse. By the word Chintamani is meant transcendental gem. Just as Maya builds this mundane universe with the 5 material elements, so the spiritual Chit potency has built the spiritual world of transcendental gems. The Chintamani, which serves as material in the building of the abode of the Supreme Lord of Goloka, is a far rarer and more agreeable entity than the philosopher's stone. Again, note 17. Regarding the notion of Chintamani Dham, Srila Prabhupada adds, in the Brahma samhita, it is stated that the ground on the Vaikuntha planets is made of touchstone. Thus there is no need to sweep the stone in Vaikuntha, for there is hardly any dust on it. But still, in order to satisfy the Lord, the ladies there always engage in dusting the marble walls. Why? The reason is that they are eager to achieve the grace of the Lord by doing so. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:15-21.
So this doesn't go well with the modern concepts of being independent and dynamic, and because this is quite it's a menial service. You hire
as a general, this concept of
somebody
being independent, it doesn't go well with the spiritual life at all.
Yeah, let alone
because how like if our philosophy explains that our constitutional position is Krishnera, Nitya Das, eternal servants of Krishna, and you want to be independent, how it's going to work?
True.
Of course, we have some independence, but this independence rather, it is in our choice how to serve Krishna, and not whether we want to serve Krishna or not. For those who does not want to make the choice to serve Krishna, there is a place called material jail, or material world, and their mentality will be gradually changed until they understand they cannot be independent. So as a general, independence and spiritual life doesn't go well together. And we see the example here.
So the most advanced devotees, the Lakshmis, they are happy to be engaged in menial
voluntarily.
Yes. Although there is no need, they are engaged in the most, shall we say, basic menial service.
Yes. For the pleasure of the Lord. They are eager to achieve the grace of the Lord by doing so. This is a via media to attract the attention of the Lord, to attract the mercy of the Lord.
Yeah. You have to do something. You have to do some service. Here in the material world, we have to clean the temple, because material world means it gets dusty.
The more you wait, the more difficult it becomes to clean.
But in the spiritual world, you don't have to, but they're still doing it.
Yes.
Because this is the relationship you have with the Lord. It's based on service. If you don't have service, what's your relationship with the Lord?
And this also shows that, like, those devotees who are very advanced, they don't discriminate between different kinds of service. For them, if they are going to sweep the floor, or they are going to cook for the Lord, or they are going to chant the glories of the Lord, there is no difference for them. It's a devotional service, is for the pleasure of the Lord.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. It's not a question of social prestige, prestigious position. Okay, what's your position? I'm very important. I'm
Saraswati Brahmin.
yeah,
I chant only mantras.
yeah.
I neat.
I don't
do anything else.
I don't dirty my hands with cleaning. And no, these are the Lakshmis, the goddesses of fortune.
Yes.
There is no higher position than them, except the gopis. Yeah, these are lessons from, you can say, lessons from Goloka, lessons from Gokula, for all of us.
We, on the other hand, we are differentiating between different kinds of services.
Yeah, it's very prestigious to give lecture, to have service as a guru, as a GBC, as sannyasi, but not so prestigious to clean the toilets. So we don't see people...
Generally, there is no queue for devotees.
No, people don't protest that they're not allowed to clean the toilet.
Yes.
But they do protest that for some other things.
Yes. Okay, so that was the end of the note. So we go back to the comment on Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The purpose tree yields only the fruits of piety, wealth, fulfillment of desire, and liberation. But the purpose trees in the abode of Krishna bestow innumerable fruits in the shape of checkered divine love. Kamadhenus, cows, yelling the fulfillment of desire, give milk when they are milked. But the Kamadhenus of Goloka pour forth oceans of milk in the shape of fountain of love, of showering transcendental bliss that this away with the hunger and thirst of all pure devotees. So basically, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj is giving us, opening a little bit the window to the spiritual world. And he's showing, we have some idea that, okay, we have special trees, kalpavriksha trees, and you can go to them and you can ask them for, okay, give me this, give me that, and they can fulfill your desires. But he's saying those desire trees in the spiritual world, they just give you prema, they just give you love of God, the highest thing. And the cows, like the Kamadhenu cows, the special Suravi cows, they can also fulfill desires and they can give lots of milk. But those cows in Gokula, they just give you the nectar of prema in the form of this cow, in the form of this milk. So it's totally different thing. And everything there is built with special transcendental gem, which is called Chintamani. So I mean, it should be an amazing place to go.
Yeah, looking forward.
Text 30.
And it's interesting that it begins with sweetness. So these are the most attractive features of the Lord. His beauty, His sweetness.
Not His greatness. Brahma could start with His greatness, like
Ishvara Parama.
often
Krishna.
we have all these long prayers in Bhagavatam when demigods appear and like, you are transcendental to the material no modes, and you are this and you are that, and you are not contaminated, and you create material world in this way and that. Here, no. He just starts with Gokula, straight, directly, sweetness of the Lord. Yes, very interesting.
Just like in Vishnu Purana and Garuda Purana also, it is stated that one should start the meal with the sweet. Not with, like in Bengal, the tradition is you start with the bitter. With shukta or shak, but it's sweet.
Yes. Well, if you ask me, I would wonder what do I prefer? Start with the bitter means start with the bad and finish with the good.
Of course, bitter is
with
also
the
very
sweet.
very tasty.
For some people.
Shukta is so good.
For some people,
Yeah.
yes.
Anyway.
I think maybe for the old people.
Anyway, I think this type of it's kind of a little bit of too informal, this type of conversation for our serious discussion on Brahma Samhita we are having.
But yeah, the point of Pandava Prabhu was that sweetness in the beginning, the sweet in the beginning. Krishna's incomparable beauty, Venum Kvanantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham, Barhavatam Samasita Buddhasundarangam, Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, who plays a flute, whose eyes are like lotus petals, who wears a peacock feather on his head, whose bodily hue is attractive like a dark cloud, and whose beauty is more spectacular than that of millions of cupids. Srila Prabhupada explains the superlative nature of this most intimate darshan. Although the Lord is one in his various forms, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, still his form as a young enjoyer of the gopis and companion of the cowherd boys, Kishora Murti, is the most perfect form. The karmis simply want to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their order supplier. The jnanis want to see him to become one with him. And the yogis want to see him partially represented within their heart as Paramatma. But the bhaktas or the devotees want to see him in his complete perfection. So complete perfection meaning what it was just described in this verse. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.24-44 purport. Devotees, they want to know the Supreme Lord in his full glory, full beauty, not partial beauty. Like everybody else wants to know only a partial aspect of the Lord. Like the yogis, they want to know the Lord as Paramatma, which is the Supreme Lord itself, but he is rather in his opulence aspect, as the witness, as the permitter of all the activities.
More neutral.
More neutral, yes. And
you prefer somebody to be neutral when you don't really want to deal with him too much.
You don't want to have too intimate relationship.
Yeah, you just basically want to use him.
Yes.
To give you mystic powers or to merge.
Yes.
Ishvara Sayujya, like this.
So that's why it is said that all these yogis and jnanis, they are like a hidden materialists.
Yeah.
Because Srila Prabhupada was saying, karmis simply want the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their order supplier. So, my dear Lord, fulfill my desires, arrange my life in such a way that I can be happy, peaceful, enjoy life. And jnanis, actually, they have the same desire in a more subtle way. But basically, they are also saying, my dear Lord, arrange for a situation where it will be very comfortable for me and I won't suffer and I won't have any problems, anxieties. So it's a similar. And the yogis, they are saying the same. They are saying, my dear Lord, please arrange for a peaceful situation for me, give me mystic power so that I can be relaxed and happy in this material world. So, from the ultimate spiritual perspective, there is no difference between these different categories.
There is different grades of materialists.
Yes.
Relatively, one can say more advanced, but then the other, like the karmi, then the jnani, then the yogi, but they are
similar
because they still want to keep their independence from the Lord.
And as you said, they are not so interested to have a relationship with the Lord, rather they want to use him.
Yeah, especially his opulence, his energy. This is the most attractive.
Yes.
For the karmis, for the yogis also, they want mystic powers.
But because these are pious personalities, they understand, okay, the way to get to the energies of the Lord, the easiest way is just to ask the Lord to give me these energies so that I can enjoy them. So there is some piety there.
Oh yeah, Krishna
but
calls
at
them
the end, it's
magnanimous.
again selfish.
Krishna calls them in Gita magnanimous souls.
Yes.
They want something in return. But they come out of love, Krishna says. Krishna is so generous. If somebody comes to you to ask for some selfish desire, would you say that he comes to you out of love? I'm not sure if I would say that, but Krishna says this.
Yes.
They come out of love, and when I fulfill their desires, they're so grateful that their love for me increases. This is how he sees things. But this is Krishna.
Like this famous verse about Krishna giving his mercy to Putana.
Oh yeah.
Giving her the position of his mother, although she came with the motivation to kill him.
Yeah.
But because she chose this way to kill him by giving him to suck poison from her breasts, and she was attracted by the beauty of Krishna, Krishna said, okay, I'm giving you the position of my mother. This is the
I'll take the essence.
Yes.
Or
Amazing.
Krishna is looking for an excuse to give us mercy to everyone, not only to his devotees, to everybody,
Amazing.
even to the demons.
Amazing.
And the materialists, they're looking for an excuse not to give anything, even if it is due, even if they have to. They're looking for an excuse not to. And also the story of Jamila. This was the objection of the Yamadutas. They told the Vishnudutas, but he didn't mean the Lord. He didn't actually call for the Lord.
He said Narayana.
But he meant his boy.
His son.
And the Vishnudutas said, yes, because you're materialists, that's why you see it in this way. When the holy name of the Lord is chanted, even, and it's the Acharyas explain, not even the whole, the 4 syllables, Narayana, even 3, if you chant, even 2 of this, still the same result. You don't even have to chant the full holy name, even 1. So, even 1, then the Vishnudutas say that the Lord, then he thinks, oh, this person is calling for me. That means he is mine, and I have to give him protection always. Would I think in this way? If somebody has something else in mind, but he happens to call my name, for example, I wouldn't probably feel so obliged to this person. But again, this is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's so magnanimous,
The most magnanimous,
so generous, and this is our God. This is the God that we worship.
Yes.
Fortunately.
Jiva Goswami describes how this pastime is the object of mantramaya upasana. So mantramaya upasana was the first way of meditation. By meditating on a certain mantras, one can attain realization of a single pastime in a specific place. So the first verse we read, it was describing various pastimes. Now this verse is describing one particular pastime, one particular form of the Lord. Brahma has described the Svarasiki pastimes, such as dancing, for walking, and songs for speaking, in the extraordinary abode called Gokula, within Goloka, which is filled with houses and walks made of touchstone. Note 18. Later on, in verse 56, there are descriptions such as Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Api. In that abode, every word is a song, every gait is a dance.
Walk, gait, say.
The flute is the favorite attendant. In accordance with these descriptions, the previous verse has also described the abode of desire-fulfilling gems as the extraordinary setting of the Svarasiki Lila in Goloka. Now, these 2 verses, 30 and 31, beginning with the word Venum Kvanantam, describe the second place of pastimes, wherein the mantra Upasana Mai Liva, the subject of this detailed meditation, takes place. Mantra Upasana Mai Liva is situated in one place without the singing, dancing and so on included in Svarasiki Liva. So a particular meditation on a particular form of the Lord. We continue with Jiva Goswami. Now here a single pastime within a second abode, which is realized through a type of meditation on Krishna, is described. This pastime is devoid of variegated activities and places where speaking is singing and walking is dancing. His is a realization of only one pastime taking place in one particular place. This is described in 2 verses, Digdarshinitika. So a specific form. And what is this specific form of the Lord? Venum Kvanantam Aravinda. He's playing flute, and his eyes are extremely beautiful, like a lotus petals, and he has peacock feather in his hair, and the color of his body is extremely beautiful, like a attractive dark cloud. And his beauty as a general is so amazing that it's greater than the beauty of the million cupids. So this is the specific meditation of Lord Brahma.
So by chanting this mantra, you can attain realization of this pastime. That's what it says.
You can see this if you chant this verse.
So you can enter the pastime by chanting this.
You can get...
By chanting Brahma samhita, you can enter the pastimes.
Yes. It's like the mantras, like the codes, and they can bring you to a certain place of reality in the spiritual world.
If Krishna allows this, of course.
If Krishna allows, yes. Verse 30, Venum Kvanantam, describes the incomparable beauty of Sri Krishna. Srila Prabhupada describes the sound of Krishna's flute. The sound vibrates by his flute would give his friends such transcendental pleasure that they would forget all the talks of the Brahmananda, which is so praised by the impersonalists. So even just hearing the sound of the flute of Krishna, was speaking of seeing his beauty, but just hearing the sound of his flute is already so amazing and so attractive that it can make you forget about all Brahmananda and all kind of other anandas.
Brahmananda meaning the highest position, besides pure devotional service.
Yes.
Because it is much higher than material sense gratification.
Yes. The highest thing you can get before entering the personal relationship with the Lord in the spiritual world. Moreover, just as a dark blue rain cloud is a soothing sight for the eyes, similarly Krishna's bluish complexion is a joy to behold. Moreover, if one could multiply 1,000,000-fold the attractive qualities present in Cupid, the resultant creation would still become madly infatuated upon seeing Shri Krishna's enchanting Swarupa.
Basically, all these descriptions, they're telling us that you guys are wasting your time in the material world.
Yes.
Because nothing will fulfill your thirst for happiness, for bliss, for love, for affection, nothing. You're just rotting in this material world. And this is the object that you're supposed to connect to, the Lord.
Yes, that's one thing. We are wasting our time here in the material world with this.
Thinking we are very smart.
Yes, with this temporary objects that we put on the place of Krishna.
Yeah.
And also the other thing is also this shows that actually the spiritual reality is such that we cannot imagine with our senses at the moment.
It's way beyond our
It doesn't matter what we imagine, like whatever.
Okay, the Krishna's color is like this. No.
Not exactly.
Because it's material.
The Krishna's color, the Krishna's form, the Krishna's eyes, the Krishna's sound of the flute, when we get in touch with them, they will become mad. It's something above, much above all our imagination and expectation. It's something much higher. Yes.
Yeah, like Bhagavatam says, reality soul is different from the illusion. Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam. Tapat trayon mulanam. It uproots the threefold miseries.
Yes.
That's one
The reality.
Sign, symptom of reality. It uproots the suffering.
More than just a pretty picture, Srila Prabhupada indicates how this verse constitutes the basis for the entire human religious endeavor, a depiction to be ignored at our own peril. Interviewer: I think history shows that many people have misused religion. Isn't that a fact? Srila Prabhupada: these people have no conception of God and they are preaching religion. How long can it go on artificially? It will deteriorate. We have a clear conception of God, Krishna. He is giving his order and we accept it. It is clear religion. If there is no God, no conception of God, no order of God, then where is religion? If there is no government, then where is the law? Interviewer: well, there wouldn't be any law, it would be an outlaw society. Srila Prabhupada: outlaw? Everyone is an outlaw, manufacturing his own concocted system of religion. That is going on. Just ask in any religious system, what is their conception of God? Can anyone tell clearly? No one can tell. But we shall immediately say, Venum kvanantam aravinda dalaya taksham. If there is no idea of God, then what kind of religion is that? Interviewer: I don't know. Srila Prabhupada: it is both. People have no conception of God, and therefore they have no understanding of religion. That is the decline. And because religion is declining, the human beings are becoming more and more like animals. Animal means that one has no memory. A dog comes when there are some eatables. I say, huh, and he goes away. But again, he comes. He has no memory. So when our memory of God is reducing, that means that our human qualities are reducing. In the Kali Yuga, these human qualities will be reduced. That means that people are becoming like cats and dogs. Quote from Science of Self-Realization, Human Society or Animal Society. So basically, Srila Prabhupada is showing how this description is not just a nice description, it's rather a fundamental part of a religious system. Because if religion means to know God and to love God, if you don't have clear concept of God, how are you going to fulfill this?
Religion without personal God is kaitava dharma, it's cheating religion.
Yes.
And if you want to worship a personal God, but you don't know, you have no knowledge about his form, his name, his pastimes, then how is this going to work? So therefore, this is a very fundamental, very important
defining what means real religion.
yeah, description of the form and the pastimes of God.
Yes.
Because if we don't establish our personal connection with the personal God, then we will be swept away by our material desires. Maya will just demolish us. She will do whatever she has been doing to us since time immemorial will be in illusion unless we develop this.
So basically,
spiritual taste.
if we don't establish a personal form of God and His pastimes and
There is no way of a real advancement.
yes, if we don't establish this as the real form of religion, then all other lower forms of so-called religions, which just establishing,
Brahman
getting
and
some material,
Paramatma, basically. Brahman, Paramatma,
getting some kind of material benefits
Karma Kanda.
as the real goal of religion, this will take the real form of the real religion.
Yes, and that means materialism, ultimately.
Yes.
Because we are persons. We cannot deny that. We cannot become unpersons. We are persons. And we need personal relationships in order to be happy. And if we don't find this in the spiritual world, in the spiritual realm, in religion, then we will find it in the material realm.
Nice.
Very simple.
So basically, the moment you refuse to accept the real standard of spiritual life,
You automatically accept Kaitava Dharma.
yes, something else, something lower. Because you cannot live without goal, without vision for your life.
Because you are who you are. You are Dharmam to Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. Your dharma, our dharma is established already by God. We are servants. That
Of
means
God.
servant, you have God. And that means we need personal.
And this is God, and this is the
and we
common activities that we're supposed to
and
take
if we
part.
reject God and this service, we have to serve Maya. That's all.
Yes, nice, very nice. And then the last verse we are going to read for today, and with this we'll finish this section. Text 31, Govinda's amorous pastimes. Alola Chandra Kalasadva Namalya Vamshi, Ratnagadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam, Shyamam Tribangalalitam Yata Prakasham, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with the moon locket. We have a note 19. Chandraka can also mean the eye of a peacock feather. Thus, Govinda would have a shining garland and a swinging peacock feather. Chandraka can also refer to type of jasmine. In such case, Govinda would have a shining garland and a jasmine swaying in the frieze. So it can mean different things, not just the moon locket. Whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always reveals in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyamasundara is eternally manifest. Shyamam Tribanga Lalitam, whose eternal Shyamasundara form is eternally manifest. This verse describes the quality of Govinda's loving interaction with his devotees. Jiva Goswami emphasizes that Krishna is the crown jewel of experts in the art of laughter and joking, and that his pastime is to reveal in that skillfulness. Govinda performs pastimes which are artful, kala, full of playfulness, keli, and affection, pranaya. Amarakosha says, drava keli parihasa. Keli means sporting or joking.
So here, right here, these three things are what we hanker for. We want pastimes which are artful, full of playfulness and affection. And unless you worship a personal God, unless you worship basically Govinda, then you will lack this. You will severely lack these three things, and then your life, your religious activities will be tedious, boring. You do them only because you are supposed to, but in your mind you will be thinking about what I'll do after, you know.
That's why you approach the material, playful and joyful activities.
And
Because
yes,
you miss this in the
yes,
spiritual sphere, you'll go
exactly.
back to the material sphere.
And while you miss it, because people present religion as impersonal. It's something impersonal. It's something that is so boring that you just do it out of obligation.
Out of fear,
Fear, yeah.
or out of obligation, or just because you're pious enough to understand, okay, this is how I will get all my material opulences and what I need to perform my material Kelly, my material
Exactly.
joyful sportive pastimes.
Yes, and then, yeah. And then the real life will be here in the material world.
Yes.
And the religion will be just...
Just so that you can arrange the position here.
And at the end, you will just throw away the religion. Just that's what happens in the Western world. Because enough, you know, it's enough of this hypocrisy. I don't believe in these things. There's nothing for me out there in this religion.
Or you come to the concept that, wait a minute, before I was praying to God to give me all the things that nowadays science is giving me.
Yeah.
So why I have to pray
Good
anymore
point.
to God? Science is already giving me all these opportunities for sense gratification.
We don't need God
easy
anymore.
lifestyle. I don't need God anymore.
I don't need no God.
Yes, that's the reality. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also comments on this verse. In this shloka, the amorous pastimes of Govinda, the embodiment of his 64 excellences, have been described. All the spiritual affairs that come within the scope of description in the narration of the ecstatic mellow quality rasa are included in the spiritual amorous sports of Govinda. Brahma Samhita purport 531. So basically, if we study the character of Krishna, these 64 qualities of Krishna which are described in Nectar of Devotion, we will find out how amazing is Krishna and how amazing are his features and how amazing are his activities. So basically, we will gradually become more and more convinced that nothing will lack in life if we dedicate to this reality. We will not miss anything.
No.
This is one of our greatest fears. We are
out.
afraid. Yes, we are afraid that if I surrender my life to Krishna consciousness, if I become whatever, brahmachari, monk, or just a regulated householder, I will miss something else. I'll miss something from the true reality, which is the material world.
And it's just the opposite.
And it's just the opposite. The more we get to know Krishna as a personality and his amazing qualities and his amorous pastimes, we'll be more and more convinced that no, actually this is the better reality. This is the real thing. I just wanted to mention something else additional with few devotees when we went in Jagannath Puri, and we were taking darshan of this deity Tota Gopinath, which is very famous deity, especially in our Sampradaya. So the Pujari one time he started explaining that according to their understanding, the deity described especially in this verse, I mean he said in Brahma Samhita, but especially in this verse is Tota Gopinath. Why? Because he has all the things described in this verse, and we are asking like, what do you mean? Like a moon locket and a special jeweled ornaments, and he said yes, he has all these things, and he brought a picture of Tota Gopinath, which he's just with a gamsha, and then you can see actually on the deity itself there is a moon locket, and on his hands there are nice ornaments, jeweled ornaments. Also, this is like part of the deity itself, and of course, deity is playing flute, and is Tribanga, Shama Tribanga Lalita. He is bent very nicely, threefold, So yeah, according to him, this form of the Lord is described in Brahma samhita. This is the vision that Brahma had. Just a little bit side point. Okay, thank you very much. Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi.